Feminism, Ecofeminism and the Maternal Archetype by Lynn M. Stearney, examines how ecofeminist rhetoric employs the maternal archetype as a powerful symbol to advocate for environmental protection and care. However, relying on motherhood as a central idea could lend the concepts of womanhood and motherhood, overlooking the nuanced and socially constructed nature of motherhood. Using a metaphor that isn't tied to a specific gender might better support both the environmental and feminist goals of the ecofeminist movement. This analysis suggests that using archetypal images without thoughtful consideration may hide other important cultural, ideological, and political perspectives. The idea of motherhood has been used in the environmental movement to symbolize the relationship between the earth and its inhabitants. For example, the popular slogan "Love Your Mother" urges us to care for and nurture the earth, as if it were our natural caregiver, providing us with food, water, and air. This connection between the environment and motherhood is especially relevant in a time when both environmental awareness and the understanding of motherhood are evolving as part of the current feminist movement. The merging of the environmental and feminist movements is known as ecofeminism. This term was coined by Françoise de Bon to highlight the potential for women to lead an environmental revolution. A prominent figure in the ecofeminist movement, Karen J. Warren, broadly defines ecofeminism as a framework for examining the historical, experiential, symbolic, and theoretical links between the subjugation of women and the subjugation of nature. This reimagines feminism and develops a corresponding environmental ethic. A key metaphor in ecofeminism is the use of motherhood to depict women's unique ability to care for and nurture the earth. This makes motherhood a universal and foundational concept in ecofeminist rhetoric. However, while archetypes like motherhood have persuasive power by establishing connections among various phenomena, they can also be resistant to criticism due to their ability to simplify and organize our experiences. The strength of the mother archetype lies in its universal and compelling nature, effectively conveying the need for an unwavering commitment to protect and sustain the environment. However, Stearney will argue in this essay, its weakness is that it ties our understanding of mother to our received notions of womanhood, conflating the two. Despite women's efforts to redefine and value their identities through feminism, the use of the mother metaphor in ecofeminism can reinforce traditional views of women primarily as mothers, closely linked to their reproductive capabilities. Stearney contends that we should continue searching for a powerful yet gender-neutral symbol that can inspire and unite the environmental movement. While the mother archetype is potent, it runs the risk of perpetuating the contemporary patriarchal notion of motherhood as something natural, boundless, and exploitable. Stearney's analysis unfolds in 4 stages. First, she discusses motherhood as an archetype and its specific connection to female identity and nature. She compares the archetypal view of motherhood with feminism's critical perspective on it as an institution, which emerged in the 1970s. Next, she examines the use of the maternal archetype in ecofeminist rhetoric, and its reliance on an essentialist view of women as mothers. She explores the consequences of ecofeminism adopting the maternal archetype for women and the environmental movement. Stearney argues that the maternal archetype is detrimental to feminism because it promotes the idea of motherhood as a universal feminine concept, limiting women's access to other identities. Additionally, Linking motherhood with the environmental movement obscures the shared responsibility of men, women, and children in ensuring the Earth's survival. Therefore, it seems important to continue seeking a powerful yet gender-neutral symbol that encourages all Earth's inhabitants to take responsibility for the environment. The concept of motherhood is deeply ingrained in our cultural and historical understanding. It transcends time periods, societal conditions, and cultural boundaries, making it an archetype, a symbol that holds universal meaning and influences our beliefs and actions. However, this idealized view of motherhood can romanticize the reality, obscuring the historical and ideological factors that have shaped our current perceptions. In simple terms, mothering refers to the daily care and management of children. This includes the special bond between a mother and child, as well as the belief that mothers play a crucial role in a child's development. Our modern understanding of motherhood took root in Victorian times, emphasizing qualities like nurturing, selflessness, and protection. It encompasses not only the biological act of giving birth, but also the emotional and selfless aspects of nurturing and safeguarding a child. Bernard described the mother as someone who embodies qualities like love, tenderness, self-sacrifice, and a focus on creating a secure environment for her family. While we often associate motherhood with the care and protection of children, this term isn't limited to that specific relationship. Ruddick, for instance, argues that motherhood is connected to an ethic of care, involving nurturing and supporting others, which she calls maternal thinking. This concept extends beyond biological ties to encompass various forms of caregiving. As Walker notes, even Buddha used maternal imagery to convey the idea of boundless and unconditional love for all beings. While the quality of unconditional love isn't inherently linked to gender, it's often associated with the feminine role of motherhood. Motherhood holds a central place in women's identities, and is viewed as a pivotal stage in their personal development. It provides women with a sense of purpose both in terms of their role and their position in society. Additionally, childless women are often judged in relation to their childbearing potential, either as potential mothers, as those who faced challenges in bearing children, or as individuals who are perceived as intentionally choosing not to have children. Plaza emphasizes that a woman's identity is often overshadowed by her role as a mother, where her existence is primarily defined by her responsibilities towards her child, whom she must care for and attend to. Thus, across different cultures, the maternal archetype serves as a potent way to convey the significance of nurturing relationships and selfless devotion. This archetype portrays women as naturally inclined toward caregiving and limitless love and sacrifice. According to this archetype, a woman's primary identity lies in her role as a mother, tied to her ability to both give birth and nurture her child's growth. However, it's important to remember that while the image of motherhood is powerful and familiar, it simplifies and idealizes the actual experience of raising children. Over the past 30 years in the United States, shifts in societal and feminist movements have influenced how women approach motherhood. Women's roles have expanded due to factors like later marriage, contraception use, and having fewer children. In 1988, nearly 40% of American women in their childbearing years were childless, a 150% increase from 1976. However, there is still limited recognition of childless women in formal studies, media, and everyday conversations. Feminist movements have critically examined motherhood, challenging it as a socially constructed and historically specific experience, rather than a natural instinct for women. Early feminist thinkers like Simone de Beauvoir and Betty Friedan questioned the societal emphasis on motherhood. Friedan, in her book The Feminine Mystique, argued for women's autonomy beyond domestic roles. Later critiques delved into the complexities and ambivalence that mothers experience. Sociologist Bernice Bernard explored the tensions between the idealized image of the selfless mother and the challenging realities of motherhood. Adrienne Rich emphasized the difference between the institutionalized concept of motherhood and the personal experiences of being a mother. These critiques sought to separate mothering as a lived experience from the socially constructed institution of motherhood. Some feminist theorists, like Carol Gilligan, emphasized women's relational capacities as a source of strength, emphasizing the influence of social context on these traits. Others, like Kathy Rudy, stressed the importance of freedom for women to choose whether or not to have children. In the mid-1980s, a third stage of feminist critique emerged, aiming to revalue mothering and recognize it as a source of power compatible with women's increasing economic, social, and political roles. However, a resurgence of the maternal ideal within feminism and society led to a renewed focus on the family, sometimes obscuring discussions of power dynamics within families. In recent years, pronatalism has experienced a resurgence, with a strong emphasis on the family as a cornerstone of political and social reform. However, the choice not to have children or to define one's identity beyond motherhood has received limited attention in this renewed interest in family values. The tension between viewing motherhood as an enduring archetype and subjecting it to critique is evident in the ecofeminist movement. References to Mother Nature and Earth Mother tap into the enduring images of motherhood to inspire responsible environmental attitudes and actions. Ecofeminism uses these maternal images to emphasize women's connection to the planet, drawing on the ideals of nurturing and caring traditionally associated with motherhood. Archetypal metaphors are powerful symbols that represent universal patterns of experience. They are consistent across cultures and time periods, serving as widely recognized symbols. These metaphors are deeply ingrained in human consciousness and draw on shared human experiences. Motherhood is one such archetype. It represents the universal concept of nurturing, caring, and protecting. Despite criticisms from feminists about its potential to enforce societal norms, motherhood remains a widely upheld feminine ideal. Different cultures may have variations, but the core idea remains the same. In the context of ecofeminism, the maternal archetype is particularly significant. It serves two main functions. First, it draws a parallel between women's role in reproduction and the natural cycles of the earth, emphasizing women's deeper connection to the environment. Second, it reinforces the idea that women possess the necessary qualities, both psychologically and emotionally, to care for the earth. This archetype works persuasively by creating similarities between women's reproductive capacity and the natural cycles of the earth. It suggests that women have the innate ability to nurture, sustain, and protect both human life and the environment. This view is based on the principle of conventionality, which means that these associations are learned and form a kind of social contract. Ecofeminists argue that women's maternal characteristics, such as compassion and a sense of responsibility, uniquely position them to lead environmental efforts. They assert that women's ability to give birth and care for children makes them particularly attuned to the needs of the earth. This perspective is central to ecofeminist activism, where many women are motivated by their roles as mothers to protect the environment. While the maternal archetype can serve as a unifying and motivating ideal for environmental responsibility, it's important to be cautious. Overemphasizing motherhood may downplay the diversity of women's experiences and roles. It's crucial to recognize that not all women are mothers, and their value and contributions extend beyond traditional maternal roles. The use of the maternal theme in ecofeminist rhetoric aims to highlight women in their perceived natural roles as mothers. It underscores the psychological traits associated with the maternal archetype, which is seen as an ideal representation of femininity. The intention is to inspire a caring and nurturing approach to environmental activism. However, relying heavily on the maternal archetype in ecofeminism can unintentionally oversimplify complex environmental issues, including political, economic, social, and technical aspects. It may reduce these multifaceted problems to the promotion of a specific maternal and feminine ethic, potentially overlooking other crucial factors. This reliance on the maternal archetype also has potential drawbacks. Firstly, it may not fully consider the social construction of motherhood and the diverse experiences of mothering. While giving birth is a biological event, the feelings and experiences associated with motherhood are shaped by societal norms and values. Additionally, this emphasis on motherhood may overlook the significant role that men play in human reproduction. Secondly, the ecofeminist emphasis on women's unique capacity for care and nurturing can inadvertently reinforce traditional gender stereotypes. It suggests that women's ability to connect empathetically with the environment is inherently tied to motherhood, potentially limiting other aspects of female identity. Thirdly, ecofeminism may romanticize motherhood while overlooking the substantial physical, emotional, and psychological labor involved. Just as the work of homemakers and caregivers was once undervalued and overlooked, the contributions of ecofeminists may face similar challenges. Fourthly, an overemphasis on the symbolic and metaphorical dimensions of mothering may have negative consequences for both environmentalism and feminism. It may lead to an exploitative approach to environmental issues, akin to how mothers have historically been exploited. Additionally, it may inadvertently discourage potential environmental activists by associating environmental protection solely with women. Finally, while nurturing and caring for the environment is crucial, it is just one aspect of addressing complex environmental problems. Effective solutions require a multidisciplinary approach, involving various professionals and activists with diverse skills and expertise. Environmental responsibility is not limited by gender, and it encompasses a wide range of technical, political, economic, social, and ethical considerations. Therefore, it is essential to engage a broad spectrum of individuals in environmental efforts, rather than confining this responsibility to individuals with stereotypically maternal traits. The idea of the archetypal mother remains deeply ingrained in our cultural consciousness, often holding more influence than real individuals who juggle childcare, work, and environmental activism. While this mother figure is familiar and potent, relying on it in ecofeminism may inadvertently sideline feminist principles and lead to a simplistic view of environmental ethics. Using the mother archetype as a metaphor for responsible environmental action is indeed persuasive, as it taps into our idealized notions of motherhood. However, alternative metaphors could serve to unite and inspire the ecofeminist movement, without promoting a narrow view of women or oversimplifying complex environmental issues. Although the ecofeminists tend ever to value women's traditional roles in caregiving and nurturing is commendable, it's important to recognize that not all women are mothers, and even among mothers, there's a wide diversity of experiences. It's crucial to remember that women and men share similarities and differences, and the capacity to love, nurture, and empathize is a human trait, not confined to one gender. Therefore, metaphors that don't favor any specific gender may ultimately prove more effective and unifying for the ecofeminist cause. For instance, considering the Earth as our neighborhood, thinking of humanity as inhabitants of a global community, or seeing ourselves as friends of the Earth, are alternative approaches. While archetypal metaphors can be powerful rhetorical tools, it's important to recognize that they are shaped by culture. They can serve positive purposes by aligning with our cultural values and goals. However, in some cases, they may inadvertently reinforce unexamined adherence to prevailing value systems. The challenge for ecofeminism lies in developing a new environmental ethics without compromising existing feminist principles. This involves using persuasive rhetorical techniques to rally environmental action, while avoiding reinforcement of archetypal images that uphold patriarchal ideals. For critics of rhetoric, the task is more intricate to identify and scrutinize the rhetorical universals that resonate strongly across diverse contexts, while critically assessing their potential to obscure and homogenize political, cultural, and ideological interests.